In 1726, a poor English woman named Mary Toft made headlines across Britain with a claim so bizarre it stunned the medical community. She said she had given birth to rabbits. Mary Toft was a 24-year-old servant living in the town of Godlingham, Surrey. She had already had 3 children and was pregnant again when she claimed to suffer a miscarriage right after being frightened by a rabbit in a field. Soon after, she began experiencing intense abdominal pain, and then the real madness began. Her family said she started giving birth to strange animal parts, first a liver, then a cat's leg, and eventually entire rabbits. Yes, full dead rabbits. Her husband and mother-in-law were convinced this was a medical phenomenon, brought local surgeon John Howard to examine her. Howard observed Toft in bed, writhing in pain, and claimed to witness the delivery of the parts himself. He was so convinced that he began preserving the specimens in jars and sent them to prominent doctors in London. Enter Nathaniel St. Andre, surgeon to King George I. Intrigued and skeptical, he traveled to see Toft in person, and to his amazement, or perhaps gullibility, he too reported witnessing Toft give birth to more rabbits. St. Andre took Toft to London and presented her as a living medical mystery to the royal court. For a brief moment, Mary Toft was a sensation. Pamphlets and newspaper articles spread the story. Crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of the woman who could supposedly birth rabbits. Some believed she was cursed, others thought it was a miracle, but the truth was much darker and much simpler. If stories like this fascinate you, hit the subscribe button for more strange, unbelievable history. The truth unraveled when another doctor, Sir Richard Manningham, insisted on a longer observation. He confined Mary Toft under watchful eyes, and unsurprisingly, no rabbits appeared. Soon after, a porter at the hospital confessed he had been supplying Mary's family with young rabbits. The entire scheme had been a hoax. Mary had been inserting the animal parts into herself and faking labor pains to produce them. Why? Likely for money, attention, and escape from poverty. But the fallout was severe. Toft confessed under pressure. The doctors, especially St. Andre, were ridiculed. He never fully recovered his reputation. The incident embarrassed the entire medical profession, raising questions about the limits of scientific authority and public gullibility. Mary Toft was briefly imprisoned but never formally punished. She eventually returned to obscurity, dying in 1763. But her story lived on as a cautionary tale of how even the most absurd claims can gain traction when people want to believe them. A woman giving birth to rabbits? It sounds impossible, but in 18th century England, it was just enough to spark a national sensation.